Okay, that little tinkling sound of the glass means you're back on the air with the restaurant brokers, Eric and Robin Gagnon. And today we have been talking about Asian cuisine. And I tell you, I love that story of Yun Young from How Do You Roll, because he went on Shark Tank. We also had a wonderful local operator from Los Angeles, and then Randy Murphy from Mama Fu. So now let's just take that a little bit further, Eric, and talk about the reality of the business from the perspective of Asian food, because we're here to give you the unbridled truth and inside scoop on this segment, Restaurant Reality.
Yes, I mean, the takeaway that I got, Asian food's been around for a long time. I mean, you remember when you were a kid, there was still just a typical Chinese restaurant, the one in town with the little curtain and the pagoda-style houses, but that has evolved, and that's what's happening today. I mean, we see Asian cuisine, again, it's tried and true in the industry, but the entrepreneurs are reinventing it in so many different levels now to make it fresh, powerful, and drive an incredible growth in that segment nowadays.
I'm still stuck. I don't know if we actually talked about this on the air, but strawberry sushi rolls, that's part of what How Do You Roll is doing. So it's no wonder that Shark Tank was so crazy excited about this process, because they really reinvented it. And they looked at it and they said, so many people would say, oh, I don't know about sushi. I'm not so into the raw fish piece of it. But they said they took their creativity and said, I'm going to take this cuisine as old as time and put it out there in a way that's going to attract new customers.
Absolutely. And the range of the Asian food is very interesting, because just like Italian or any other different concepts that we have here in America, there's always a little touch of American eyes, I guess I would say, part into the cuisine. And I think, folks like at Mama Foods, they said they have two different kind of black menu, going on twice a year. I mean, you see the adjustment. You see that to make it more, I guess, comfortable for people to go. Because a lot of people are, like you said, scared or worried about Asian, or think, there's something there that is not, appealing, or we don't know. You hear all different things. But I think nowadays it's a lot more welcoming. It's a lot different. There's so many different variation. I mean, I know a few years back, Asian fusion was a cool thing where you kind of fuse, some things. I mean, that's kind of something that is no longer kind of a term used a lot in industry, but you see a lot of variation, I think, of the Asian level concepts that are used into restaurants, or even you see some of the big chains once in a while having limited time offers or special with Asian, because they want to capitalize on that flavor.
Well, and the other thing is, I think the reality for our listeners should be, you can take something and dust it off and reinvent it. So look at Mama Foods. Randy bought this brand that was, face it, that was in decline with Raving Brands. And since then, he looked at every area of the business. He brought in operational changes. He brought in a lot of adoption of technology. And I read online his unit level revenues have increased by 20% and startup costs have decreased by 25%. So wow. That is saying you can take something that maybe isn't reaching its full potential today and then push it out there. In 2012, Mama Foods was number 13 on the fastcasual.com top 100 movers and shakers list.
That's very impressive, especially at a time where everything was going up. Cost of build-outs going up, food costs is going up. So that is very impressive. And I think you got to stay current. A lot of people get in a rut or get comfortable with their concept, and they're not looking back out. If you are an Asian concept, I know what our customers we're working with at We Sell Restaurants is actually taking a 3-week trip back to Taiwan and to Korea to go look at some new flavors, new freshness. She's heard about some things. She's read online. She goes out there. So if you own any kind of exotic food cuisine kind of concept, it'd be very important for you to go from like a couple of years, every 2 or 3 years, to go back there, refresh, see what's trendy over there, and bring it back here, adapt it to carry on the freshness and the success of your continued restaurant.
I agree. And thinking about the Mama Foods, I mean, his proof is in the result. Any operator has got to be willing to re-examine the business from the inside out. And maybe it's bringing on someone else. Maybe it's putting together an editorial board that looks at what you're doing, or an advisory board. Or maybe it's you doing that traveling that says, oh, I'm not taking advantage of this wonderful spice as much as I could be. Or, one thing in the fast casual trends this year is seeing Asian infused into breakfast items. So they're looking at new ways to introduce the flavors. Maybe it's to a different day part. It's about creativity and staying current and getting ahead and keeping your mind open to what all the different opportunities are.
Yeah, and Randy talked about, a lot of our customers are like in Randy's shoes. They come to the business without any experience. And that was so true today, what I heard. He said, hey, I didn't know what I was doing. I know I wanted to do it. I went and get some people to help me. In this case, it was his sister. But you can go out and reach out to people to help you understanding, learning the business, be on the fast track, and avoiding some costly mistakes that you would make if you're on your own. I see so many even one-man, mom and pop, we call them, single operators that are just sitting there on their own in an island. You don't have to do that. Reach out to people in your community and restaurant operators, larger or smaller than you, and get their advice, get their input, work with them to achieve greatness on an ongoing basis.
Okay, so we've been talking about Asian cuisine today, and the great thing is, we still need to sell some restaurants every now and then, and we've got some Asian cuisine restaurants for sale in the marketplace.
We do, Robin. We have an interesting one in the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. That restaurant sells in excess of $1.5 million. That's a lot of food, and that is true, again, to the concept that we're talking about, that these concepts are very trendy. And the owner-operator makes over $400,000 a year in profit.
People come to us, they always want it. The same thing, Eric, six-figure earnings. This is like six-figure earnings quadruple. That's amazing. $450,000 in benefit to an owner.
And listen, that only in 2,400 square feet. That's the total space, 59 guests only. So we talk about takeout delivery. There must be a lot of business going on out the door.
And that's something that folks really should think about when they're designing that business model. I liked what Randy said, because can you redesign your footprint and go much smaller? Because I remember the old days of Mama Foods, they were 3,500 to 4,000 square feet. Shrinking that down to half the size or less and pushing more of that business through takeout and delivery, the reality of that is that's a way to deliver a lot more earnings to your bottom line.
Yeah, and another good thing I like about this is a lot of time beer and wine is all you need, because sake fall under the wine license a lot of time in most states. So you can have a beer and wine license without having to worry about carrying alcohol and all the liabilities and the insurance and the extra costs with it, and it complements well with your dishes. So this restaurant, they only have beer and wine.
I love that. Now, we also have we have a Japanese steakhouse and sushi bar out in the rural part. It's not in the metro area specifically, but it's very, very popular. Has about 3,600 square feet. Now, this one has seats 110 people, so it is a very large location, and it's doing about $650,000 a year.
Wow, that's pretty good. And Robin, back on just real quickly on the Fort Lauderdale Miami restaurant, $1,290,000 takes it. You can own it. Very good price. Call us.
Yeah, that is a very good price. And one thing that's very important, I think, about any of the listings that we have for sale in both of these Asian concepts, and we talked about it on today's show, is that the owners will train and they will also transfer these recipes in the transaction. So you're not out there on your own trying to figure out, yes, you want to reinvent and you want to do something a little bit different, but you don't have to start from scratch and come up with a brand new menu or feel like that menu might not be exactly what you are looking for.
That's true.
As usual, when we get warmed up and talking about the listings, what happens? We run out of time.
Time is up. Unfortunately, you have to wait till next week for more listings.
No, they don't. They don't have to wait till next week.
That's
you can
right.
go online to WeSellRestaurants.com. We have the largest inventory of restaurant for sale listings anywhere in the country. Our website traffic is just absolutely off the charts. We offer you a lot of free reports and downloads and information and more that we can't even get to in this brief hour on the radio. Check us out online, WeSellRestaurants.com. Send us a tweet on Twitter @SellRestaurants and join us next week.